Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad.
Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And before I get things started, let me just go and be the first to say, what a week, am I right? What a week! I mean, seriously, like, even though we're just in 2021, never have I seen a week in such a long time that it just exploded with so many major, not just animation news, but entertainment news that really got social media in such an insane spiral. There have been so many major things that have been happening that I knew that I really got to go and talk about them in this podcast. And just a little bit of a fair warning, by the way, that I know there's been so many things that are happening, and I'll do my best to try to highlight the most that I can, but you guys know the format of the podcast. I only want to just talk about 5 stories a week so that this whole podcast doesn't take like freaking forever. And I'm sure there might be some people that could end up getting a little bit upset because I didn't talk about a specific story, but you gotta keep in mind that this week there's just been so many crazy stories, so many things to talk about that I had to go and ultimately make some sacrifices in order to pick the ones that I truly know what to say, or the biggest ones to really go and highlight. So I know it's been quite an insane week, but hopefully I'll do my best to highlight the most as possible while focusing on the biggest ones really worth discussing about. Alright, so with all that said, I just want to give you all a little bit also a small fair warning that considering that this will be a major episode and a really big one, we could be exceeding the 2-hour mark. This is gonna go on for possibly a while, so I just want to say brace yourselves for this one, because this could be one of the biggest episodes of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast yet. And, we already got someone following me. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you so much. But anyways, with all that said and done, now that I have stated this, I would like to go to the chat wall, and I would like to ask everyone, are you ready for a major episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear a chat wall. Are you all ready? Because it's gonna be quite a wild ride now. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Yep. Okay, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, someone's like, well, I guess. All right. That is beautiful. That is great to hear. And with that said, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with the first story that we shall be discussing, well, I guess this is pretty much inevitable to go and talk about this, or to really start off with not just the biggest news of the week or the biggest entertainment news of the week, but quite possibly the biggest animation news of the year. We're still only starting 2021, and yet this massive moment has already occurred, and to this day people are still talking about it and still in shock that it even happened in the first place. So with that said, let us now go and begin with Blue Sky Studios. Yes, it is sadly official. This week, Disney made the announcement that they are officially shutting down Blue Sky Studios after almost 34 years that the studio was up and running. Disney decided to finally go and pull the plug. And it shouldn't be too hard to guess as to why Blue Sky had to go and shut down. Of course, it is because of the pandemic. And it's not really the fact that there were so many people that got affected by the pandemic at Blue Sky Studios. Maybe there were some, but that's not necessarily the reason. It's not the pandemic itself, but rather the financial consequences of the pandemic. We all know that it has literally hurt everyone, especially with Disney, where not only did they lose hundreds of millions of dollars, but they lost billions, especially when a lot of their movies and a lot of television productions had to be heavily delayed, and not to mention the theme parks being continuously closed down with only a handful that are still open during these times. They have legitimately lost billions. And even though some people could argue that as we are recording this right now, that we are seeing a light at the end of the tunnel and there could be a possible end to this pandemic because the vaccines are coming out soon, the problem is, though, is that we are still in it, and Disney is at the point where they have been financially hit so hard that they have no choice but to make some sacrifices. And ultimately, they decided to go and get rid of Blue Sky Studios. In fact, the biggest consequence to the shutdown of Blue Sky is the fact that, yes, there will be a lot of people that will be losing their jobs. Specifically, 450 people will have to be let go. In fact, let me go and read a little bit from my source here on Deadline. As it's here in this little paragraph, the last days for Blue Sky will be in April. The number of Blue Sky employees being impacted numbers 450. Disney will be working with the employees at the Greenwich, Connecticut-based studio to explore open positions. Excuse me, I was about to burp, but didn't really let out right. Anyways, as I was saying, Disney will explore open positions at the other internal studios. So basically, even though there are going to be hundreds of people that will be losing their jobs, Disney will actually go and put in the effort to go and find some new positions for them to go and work someplace around Disney. Now, that doesn't necessarily guarantee them a new job at Disney. It doesn't mean that the people at Blue Sky are going to hop from that studio to somewhere else at Disney. Disney is only going to be helping them, and that's the most that they are gonna do. Like, on one hand, it doesn't guarantee them that they will have immediate new business, but at the same time, at least Disney is not doing it's not like Disney isn't doing anything about it. Also, continuing on, a studio spokesperson told Deadline, given the current economic realities, after much consideration and evaluation, we have made the difficult decision to close filmmaking operations at Blue Sky Studios. Now, when it comes to the projects that were currently at Blue Sky, we did receive some updates regarding what's happening with them, and some might be a little bit of good news, but unfortunately a lot are actually bad news. One example is regarding the future of the Ice Age franchise, considering that there have been reports in the past that not only would there be a new spin-off film, I think it's a spin-off film, but it's going to be starring Buck Wild, with it's like Ice Age Buck's Adventures or something like that, and at the same time, they are also planning to do an Ice Age series. Now, those projects apparently have been stated to be in the works, but they're not at Blue Sky. They are actually being worked on at Disney Television Animation, so there is still a strong chance that they will survive even long after Blue Sky Studios. Unfortunately, though, there is one project that has been unfortunately canceled, and that actually is the movie that they were currently working on, Nimona, that was supposed to be directed by Patrick Osborne, and that it did have a release date on January 14th, 2022. And the reports did actually state that they were actually pretty close to the finish line. Not necessarily like almost done with the movie, but they only had 10 months left in order to complete the feature. So again, they still had a lot to go and work on in order to complete the film, but they already had a majority of the work that was already done. Probably at that point, like I'm only guessing, but they were pretty much putting down the finishing touches. Like they had a locked script, they were working on a lot of animated scenes, and they were just finishing up a whole bunch of different elements in order to fully secure the movie and be ready for that 2022 release. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's actually going to be happening. So that's currently the big thing, and probably the biggest animation news of the year is the fact that Blue Sky Studios shut down. And of course, if you're an animation fan, then you're very much familiar of who Blue Sky Studios is. But in case you haven't, Blue Sky Studios is known as the animation studio that it used to be the prime animation studio that belonged to 20th Century Fox before Disney did the entire Fox buyout. And they were the studio that was actually responsible for movies such as, of course, the Ice Age films, which once upon a time held the title of the highest grossing animated film franchise of all time, making, I believe, around $3.2 billion with all the 5 movies combined. They were also responsible for other films such as Robots, Horton Hears a Who, Epic. What the fridge else have they done? They did the Rio movies, they did Ferdinand, they did the Peanuts movie, and they did Spies in Disguise. And with what happened here, with the whole shutdown of Blue Sky Studios, I believe this is what many animation fans feared the most when it came to the Disney Fox buyout. Like, when people have heard that Disney was going to go and fully buy out not just Blue Sky Studios, but the entirety of 21st Century Fox, that was one of their main concerns. It was regarding what's going to happen with Blue Sky Studios. Because one major thing that everyone knows about with Disney and with Blue Sky, it's regarding the fact that Disney doesn't need Blue Sky Studios. I mean, yeah, having a major animation studio is great, but the thing is, Disney already owns 2 major animation studios with Walt Disney Animation Studios and Pixar Animation Studios. Not to mention the fact that many would even regard them as 2 of the biggest and 2 of the best that are in the industry that are capable of making billion-dollar hits, with both of them actually having more than one title that made more than $1 billion at the box office. In fact, probably like 3 or more even. So it's not really that much of a necessity that they would have something like Blue Sky Studios, in which at the most their biggest claim to fame is just the Ice Age franchise, maybe Rio, and that's pretty much it. So that was a major concern for everyone in the animation community, is the fact if Disney would end up letting go of Blue Sky, because they didn't need it. It wasn't necessarily that big of a priority. Even if Disney would still maintain all those 3 studios, you know for a fact that the biggest priority is going to be with Disney Animation and with Pixar. And when it comes to Blue Sky, that's just kind of like random. They were just like the random newcomers that came in. And not to mention the fact that they're way too far away from Disney's main hub down in Southern California. And like I said, Blue Sky is actually housed in Connecticut. So it's not like they can go and have direct contact with the Disney animation people or with the Pixar people to go and help them out. It's not like they can make one giant story truss with all 3 of them together. So this is pretty much to emphasize that everyone knew that Blue Sky has never been a major priority at Disney, and they were worried if something like this would potentially happen. And then, of course, the pandemic occurred, and it really hit Disney hard to the point that they've been losing billions of dollars, and it has really been screwing over their business to the point that they were left with no choice but to go and make sacrifices. And yes, one of them that had to go was Blue Sky Studios, considering that the other elements of Fox, when they would go and buy it, they actually have more use to those other aspects. Like, yeah, with 20th Century, they could use that as their adult production. The movies and the projects that are considered too adult or maybe rated R that wouldn't necessarily fit with the Disney brand, they can go and put it on 20th Century. And even with Searchlight, for example, that one is also an important piece for Disney to go and keep because that's more suited for their big Oscar-winning indie films, the ones that heavily emphasize on making art and winning all the Oscar trophies and stuff like that. So that's also an important aspect for them. Blue Sky, on the other hand, they don't really have that big of a role that they could fill for Disney, considering that there are already others that they could fill. They don't need more mainstream animated films because they already supplied some of the biggest mainstream animated films in recent years. However, with that said, though, I will state that I completely do understand nowadays where everyone seems to be so frustrated when it comes to the news with Disney shutting down Blue Sky. The fact that right now the hatred against Disney is so mainstream, and there is a part of me that honestly I actually do understand the anger. I do understand the rage against Disney, especially the fact that I do agree that it really is a dick move to not just shut down Blue Sky, but to shut down Blue Sky during a pandemic. Yes, it does state that Disney is going to be helping the animators and the employees to go and find new businesses within the property of Disney. It is true that they are going to go and do that, but still, especially nowadays, it is extremely difficult to try to find new work, to try to find new business. And keep in mind, even though Disney is going to be helping them, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that they are going to have a new job while staying within Disney. There could be a chance that the employees will still have to go and give out their CV to plenty of other places as well. In fact, it should actually be highly advised that they do so because, as I said before, it's not a guarantee that they are going to stay within the Walt Disney Company and that they will help them go and find a new job. That's currently the big situation. And sadly, this is not necessarily the first time that Disney even did this. This isn't even like the biggest case that they have done so. You might remember many months ago, somewhere around 2020, where Disney had to make a really douchey move where they had to go and sacrifice 28,000 employees who were working at both Disneyland and Walt Disney World. So unfortunately, Disney does have a bit of a history of letting go of people for the sake of saving up money during the pandemic. And yes, as I said before, it very much is understandable why people would be so frustrated when Disney would pull off a move such as this, that they couldn't wait until maybe sometime after the pandemic and things would get better for them to do that move or to make sure that the employees would be safe in a new job before they would go and ultimately take down Blue Sky Studios. But with that said, there is one thing that I do have to honestly state, and this is going to be a little bit of a harsh reality when it comes to Blue Sky Studios. And the thing is that, yes, a major reason to, Disney is massively to blame for the shutdown of Blue Sky Studios, and we could also go and blame the pandemic as well. But at the same time, there's also one more major entity that we should blame for the downfall of Blue Sky. And I'm going to be honest, it's actually right here. It's Blue Sky Studios who did this upon themselves. Now, I know some of you might be wondering, it's like, what? Blue Sky killed Blue Sky? What the hell are you talking about? Now, the reason why I say this, you really got to listen, because this really does require looking into the full history of Blue Sky Studios, and you got to understand the business of why Blue Sky debatably kind of killed themselves, that this is kind of their own doing, not just Disney's doing, not just the pandemic's doing, but this is also Blue Sky's doing. And the reason is because you got to think of the most popular thing that Blue Sky has created, and that is the Ice Age movies. Now, we all know Ice Age, like I said before, it's their most popular property that they have ever created, once held the title of the highest grossing animated film franchise of all time, down to the point where they actually built their Blue Sky brand around Ice Age. But, at the same time, that also led to their biggest downfall. They built an entire business model that ended up becoming way too dependent on the Ice Age films. Like, really think back about their entire history, or at least starting from Ice Age and then moving forward. Of course, during the beginnings of their filmmaking careers, with the Ice Age films, it did go extremely well with the first film, and then it grew bigger and better with the second and then the third. But then it just ended up growing to the point that they were just known for that, and that's it. Down to the point where they were just putting way too much energy on Ice Age alone. Even during their beginnings, yeah, like, some people could say it's fine that they're just building up a franchise, but it really did feel like one movie after another. It's like they have to make an Ice Age film once every second film. Like, you look at their filmography, like, you got Ice Age, and then you got Robots, and then you got Ice Age again, and then you got Horton Hears a Who, and then after that you got Ice Age, and then after that you got Rio, and then after that you also got Ice Age Continental Drift, and it just kept going, like, with that bit of list. They ended up becoming a little bit too dependent and put so much of their energy on just making Ice Age films and not enough energy to go and help fuel their original features. That's why a lot of the Ice Age movies did not really make all that much at the box office. And it was almost down to the point where they feel like their answers to their problems is just make more Ice Age films. Oh, did this movie not make as much money than we thought? Then we're just gonna go and make another Ice Age movie. That should solve our problems. That should go and give us some money so that we could stay afloat. Let's just make more Ice Age. The more Ice Age, then the better, so that if ever one original movie doesn't work out, then we'll just go and do this. In fact, you could tell that they have become way too dependent on the Ice Age films, that the only time that they have ever made a franchise that is not related to Ice Age is Rio, and that's it. And Rio could honestly, debatably, be the only non-Ice Age thing that really did end up becoming successful, because it did manage to spin off a sequel. And that's it. And they kept on continuously doing this business again and again of just producing one Ice Age movie after another, down to the point that when it came to the fifth movie, Collision Course, that was when the public said that they had enough. That enough is enough. We're sick and tired of all these Ice Age movies. And you can definitely tell by the box office numbers that it happened. I mean, yeah, some people could say, and like even I definitely agree, that Collision Course is not just the worst Ice Age movie, but also the worst movie ever created by Blue Sky. But when you look at the results, now I understand some people could say that technically Collision Course was a hit, it was profitable for Blue Sky and for Fox, but when you do compare it to something like Continental Drift, you could tell that the interest in Ice Age took a massive nosedive, where with Collision Course, it actually made less than half of what Continental Drift actually made. It's a little bit like a similar case to The Secret Life of Pets 2 that happened back in 2019, where technically, yes, the movie itself is considered a success, but when you compare it to its predecessor, that's when you notice the interest suddenly went way down. And that is a massive indicator where they know, the people at Blue Sky knew that they cannot go and actually make more Blue Sky films, because if they would do so, then they would just really run it to the ground to the point that they could no longer make money, or worse, they would lose money if they keep making more Ice Age films. So they ultimately have to let that go. But here's the problem, and this is the long-term consequences of their business model, of the fact that they have to let go of their Ice Age movies. Because now, they have nothing left. They revolve their reputation so much on the fact that these are the makers of the Ice Age movies, even down to the point that when it came to their movie logos, you would often see Scrat doing his usual shtick of like just chasing around the acorn. Like time and time again, all they want to do is remind people that they were the creators of Ice Age. And for the rest of their other movies in their library, they can't really do much because they're not that profitable to mention that, hey, we made this film. Like, maybe they did so with Rio, but that was pretty much it. Other than that, all they did to emphasize who they are just the makers of Ice Age. And that's how the public understood them. It's just, these are the people that made Ice Age. So following after Collision Course, those movies that they had left with Ferdinand and Spies in Disguise, there was really not that much interest. People barely cared about seeing another Blue Sky movie because they didn't care seeing another movie coming from Blue Sky Studios or from the makers of Ice Age. Because generally, they don't put much effort into putting their original work and focus a little bit more on mass producing the Ice Age movies. Audiences don't have that much of a trust from watching those Blue Sky films like Ferdinand and Spies in Disguise. And by the way, this is something that I almost forgot to mention, but here's another fact that about these Ice Age movies is that they are expensive as F. Like, on average, these movies would often exceed the $100 million mark on their budgets. So you could probably imagine with the box office numbers that they would receive, like with Ferdinand and with Spies in Disguise, they just kept on losing money. So unfortunately, because of their poor business model, they became more and more of just an unprofitable business. That with Blue Sky films, it's hard to really make them successful or to really make them profitable because the only things that they made that actually made money were just the Ice Age films. And the fact that they were no longer making Ice Age films and their original films don't really make that much money, well, they're pretty much doomed to fail, unfortunately. And this might be a bit of a controversial statement, but I would honestly argue that even if we live in a scenario that Disney never bought 20th Century Fox, and that Fox is still in the competition when it comes to the major studios like with Disney and Universal and Paramount and all those other companies, I think honestly, because of the fact that the pandemic did happen, I could imagine Fox making the same decision. That if 20th Century Fox have to go and make some sacrifices because they would also be a company that would be hit hard by the pandemic, they would probably also have to sacrifice Blue Sky as well. So as much as there are people out there that are really upset with Disney because they were the ones who committed to the action, you cannot deny that Blue Sky Studios really did this to themselves because they built a poor business model that made them too dependent on the Ice Age films. And that's really the case right here. So it's not just because Disney made the decision to let them go. It's not just because of the pandemic, but it's also because Blue Sky, well, people didn't really care much about Blue Sky. They just, it's just, they built a model or they built a business model where they relied way too much on just one franchise. And when it comes to all their other movies, people just didn't really care much and ultimately had to let it go. I mean, I understand in recent years, yes, people did care a bit more about something like Robots, that it gained a little bit more, it did gain more of a cult status. But then again, that's more because of like nostalgia. And it's only now that it did gain popularity compared to how they were back when it was released in 2005. And that's honestly the unfortunate truth of this, is that you can't put the blame entirely on Disney. Like a lot of it would also have to be because they did it upon themselves. And now looking back at Blue Sky, and I mean, yeah, we would all have our times where we were just fed up with Blue Sky, and they definitely did have their problems. Now we're pretty much at the moment where people are admitting to the things that they actually really liked about Blue Sky. That now that the company is gone, now we're pretty much lamenting about the things that people really did enjoy about Blue Sky. And I will admit too, like for me, it really is kind of heartbreaking that we're no longer going to be having this studio. And I mean, yes, it is heartbreaking in general that this whole studio shut down and that 450 employees just lost their jobs this year, especially during a serious pandemic such as COVID. But there is something that I will say that I will miss about Blue Sky because, yes, it is true that when it comes to their movies, for the most part, their batting average is usually like mediocre. And let's be real, the writing on their movies, usually they suck. It's hard to really find a Blue Sky film that actually does provide some good writing with a solid story and some actual likable characters. Yeah, there are a few, but generally, when you go and watch a Blue Sky film, they're not really all that great or not really all that noteworthy, and extremely rare when they would make something that would be considered like one of the all-time best animated films of their respective year. But one thing I will say though, that
Things are...
oops, so sorry, went to the wrong direction there. But one thing I will say though, that when it comes to Blue Sky films, one thing I will absolutely miss about them is definitely regarding their animation. And even though I did state that it is hard to think about a Blue Sky film that actually has some very good writing, or at least think of several examples of Blue Sky films with good writing, one thing that I can say is that I cannot imagine a Blue Sky movie that doesn't have good animation. Like, no matter what, whenever I would go and enter the movie theaters to go and watch a Blue Sky movie, I know for a fact that the animation will always be spectacular. That is always one thing that I've always anticipated myself for. That's always something that I was always looking forward to when it comes to Blue Sky's movies, is that they always supply some beautiful animation. And that really is especially the case with a lot of their feature films, and they always provide some great noteworthy examples of just beautiful looking animation. Like some that already that are on top of my head are the ones that they would collaborate with William Joyce, with Robots and 2013's Epic. And I know, like, with Robots, it has already gained a bit of a cult status. But say what you will about Epic, honestly, there is no denying that the animation that they have done for both these movies are just absolutely gorgeous. And even to this day, they still look spectacular and very imaginative as well. Like, definitely one of the best studios to actually go and bring the world of William Joyce to life. I would even say that's probably one thing that Blue Sky actually does better than Disney, because honestly, with the William Joyce stories and the art style of William Joyce, both Robots and Epic, I feel like they did a way better job than Meet the Robinsons, at least visual-wise, to make something highly creative, immersive, and really amusing to go and check out. So that's one major thing that I will give Blue Sky credit, more so than Disney Animation. But there is also something that I do want to state about Blue Sky, and something that I feel like it is extremely underappreciated by Blue Sky is honestly their innovation. Now, I've stated this before on social media, but I feel like people do not give Blue Sky Studios the credit they deserve for some of the innovations that they have given to the animation industry. And with those innovations, people generally just want to give that credit to other studios and to other people, most namingly Sony Pictures Animation. I say that a lot of the things that people praise Sony Pictures Animation for, that claim and those praises, honestly, they belong to Blue Sky Studios. Like, here's one good example. One of the most well-known things about Sony Animation is the fact that a lot of people state that they're the ones who really did go and push the cartoony movement onto mainstream animated features, especially with the Hotel Transylvania movies and the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs films. That they were really the ones to highly emphasize using rubber hose-like, over-the-top, cartoony, almost UPA-style animation and put that onto the mainstream, where now almost all studios are doing it, like DreamWorks, Illumination, even Disney and Pixar. Like, now it seems to be a bit of the norm to see this type of cartoony animation onto mainstream animated features. However, when it comes to Blue Sky, what about Horton Hears a Who? That was a movie released in 2008 that, debatably, yes, it does emphasize more the Dr. Seuss style, but it was one of the first to actually go and heavily use that kind of cartoony style. And even to the point that, like, not just, like, average cartoony or, like, a little bit more abstract than, like, the animated films at the time. No, I mean, like, full-on, highly colorful, abstract, emphasizing the Dr. Seuss style, even going rubber hose over the top animation with its style. That Blue Sky actually did it way before even Sony would even release stuff like Cloudy or Hotel Transylvania. And I would debatably say that, honestly, Horton Hears a Who has some of the best cartoony animation in recent years. Even nowadays, like, Horton Hears a Who is actually one of the best examples of that kind of over-the-top cartoony animation in mainstream computer animated features. I wouldn't say it's perfect animation, but definitely better than most. And I feel like that credit should belong to Blue Sky. But unfortunately, people don't want to do that. They'd rather want to go and give credit to people like Phil Lord, Chris Miller, and Genndy Tartakovsky, and give them that praise and give them that title than Blue Sky, because people don't want to give credit to Blue Sky. Those are the annoying, that's the annoying studio that would make all the Ice Age film. Why should they get the credit for something that is innovative? Why should they have that high title? Like, screw those Ice Age people. Let's give that credit to the people that they feel like they deserve it, like Phil Lord, Chris Miller, and Genndy Tartakovsky. And here's another example that I want to go and bring up. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. To this day, people still consider it one of the greatest animated features of all time for reinventing computer animation in order to take a popular franchise and bring it back to its roots, to pay homage of where that franchise came from. And I will give the people at Sony credit that they did an amazing job with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. However, why not think back to Blue Sky? Because the thing is, Blue Sky already did what Sony did with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 3 years prior with the Peanuts movie. And again, it's the same thing. They had to reinvent the their computer animation in order to go and pay homage to the roots of the franchise that they're presenting, which in this case is Peanuts. And yes, technically to this day, some people are still calling it one of Blue Sky's best animated films, or possibly even Blue Sky's best animated films. And I even agree with that. Like, I still think that it's definitely up there with the first Ice Age movie as one of Blue Sky's greatest efforts. However, when you look back in 2015 and when you compare it to the reception that Spider-Verse got, you could tell that it very much is underappreciated. Why didn't Peanuts movie get the same amount of acclaim as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? Like, yeah, it was praised, but not as highly praised as what Sony did with Spider-Man. Why didn't Peanuts actually get all those Oscars or was a major contender during the award season? Why wasn't it up there, like, fighting against Anomalisa and Inside Out in order to get those best animated feature wins? Why can't the Peanuts movie do that? Or why couldn't the Peanuts movie get massive box office numbers as much as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? Again, people would rather want to go and give credit to others. And again, trying to give credit to Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Not even towards the directors, just give the credit to Phil Lord and Chris Miller for being responsible for that project, instead of Blue Sky for doing the same thing way before. There is a little bit of that injustice. And that's what I want to go and highly emphasize. And unfortunately, with the amount of praise that we are seeing towards Blue Sky now, it really does suck of the fact that it had to take Blue Sky to shut down, to close their business in order for people to actually speak out about what they do appreciate about Blue Sky Studios. And I mean, I'm not saying that none of this praise ever happened before, but when they would be brought up, you would usually find the cartoon community go and try to undermine that praise. That they would try to go and say, I don't care. Like, yeah, sure, they did some good things, but I don't really care about them because all they do is just make stupid Ice Age movies. You know what I mean? They, like, whenever you would see those praise in the past, when Blue Sky Studios was up and running, people would just disregard it. They would try to undermine it because they don't want to give that much appreciation or that much praise to Blue Sky. And it really is a dark example of the fact that people only appreciate things when they are gone. And yeah, it's true that Blue Sky isn't necessarily the best animation studio, but when they do something good, they really do something. They really have done some amazing things. And again, I want to emphasize that they have definitely done some things that are highly innovative in the animation industry that not enough people, honestly, are giving them enough credit for. And for me personally, if I would go right now and state, like, what are some of my favorite Blue Sky films, like, there are some that I will personally admit are actually decent, like, the first Rio movie was fine, that was pretty good. And I'll admit that I'm probably in the minority that I actually enjoyed Epic, and I thought it was a pretty solid film. But my favorites, personally, I would have to say, it would have to be the first Ice Age film, undeniably. There's also Horton Hears a Who, and of course, the Peanuts movie. And there are things that I will say that I highly did enjoy from Blue Sky, and it really is a shame to see them go. And I just want to state that I do understand that, like, I already stated that people right now are still massively upset over Disney animation, or really upset over Disney because they're the ones who decided to go and shut down Blue Sky Studios. But to those people that are still mad at Disney, I just want to go and ask you, is it really helping anyone to stay mad at Disney? Like, what is it that you care more about? That, do you care about Blue Sky, or do you care more about hating on Disney? Because I've already stated this in the past. I've already stated this in a previous story in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast regarding the fact that people nowadays would often exaggerate their hatred towards Disney, mainly because they are on top of the food chain, and usually the hatred towards Disney is considered acceptable more so than towards other smaller studios. That the kind of criticism people would give towards Disney, it would be highly immoral and highly unacceptable if you do it towards another studio. And again, I want to ask those people who are currently angry at Disney, that is it really going to be helping anyone if you still stay mad at Disney? Like, is it actually going to go and help those employees who have lost their jobs? Is it going to go and help Blue Sky's reputation when you would rather want to go and bash Disney and try to say things like, oh, Disney hates animation. Disney animation and Pixar are really uncreative, and they only have one stupid style compared to the diversity that Blue Sky Studios has. Like, do you care, like, with your feelings right now, do you care more about hating on Disney or on showing your respects to Blue Sky? Because if you're more focused on your hatred towards Disney, then I'm just going to say right now that you got anger issues, and it's not really going to be helping anyone. It's just going to be you're just being destructive for nothing, and you're not doing any services to anyone who lost their jobs at Blue Sky, or doing anything to help Blue Sky in general. So I just want to state right now that yeah, you could be angry all you want, and you do have your justifiable reasons, but is it really going to help the situation? Is it really going to help anyone if if your response to this is to just stay mad and be destructive and attack people than really helping the ones in need? That's all I'm asking. So overall, I just need to say that it is very much unfortunate to see Blue Sky go, and yeah, may its legacy live on, man. Like, I know usually their batting average are mediocre, but for the good things that they have done, I'll forever remember them. And I will still enjoy movies like Ice Age and Horton Hears a Who and the Peanuts movie. So just want to go and pay my respects to that. Okay, so with all that said and done, I would like to go and pass on the mic to the chat wall right over here. And I want to ask you all, what do you think about the whole situation? And do you have any favorite memories you would like to share about Blue Sky Studios? Like, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite scene? Who are your favorite characters? Let me know what you think about this. Fudge nabbit, now everybody is coming out at the same time, like they're all putting out their whole, like, they're putting their entire paragraphs all at the same time, so, like, I just see the chat wall just crashing, like, boom, 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 boom. Alright, anyways, let's see here. This news devastates me. While Blue Sky wasn't the best animation studio out there, when they got something right, they did it amazingly, and they did help shape animated features to become how they are today. Some of my favorite Blue Sky movies are the first Ice Age, Horton Hears a Who, the first Rio, and Peanuts movie. All I could say is rest in peace, Blue Sky Studios, and I wish the former employees the best of luck in their future and hope they find new jobs. Yes, definitely. Hopefully, they will get themselves back soon, and especially during this very tough time. The sooner they can get a job to keep themselves financially stable, the better, especially with how things are in the United States. Let's see. Honestly, I did worry that Blue Sky will be gone if they don't make enough money, and that was before Disney bought them. Fox really pressured them for more Ice Age movies, and sadly doesn't make any as much as ever. Even Saberspark said it as well. Disney could have saved Blue Sky if it wasn't for the failure of the pandemic. I just wish the animators the best of luck to go and find new jobs. I'm going to miss Blue Sky so much. They were also part of my childhood with Ice Age, Horton, and Robots. Exactly. And that is one thing that you do have to remember, and that you have to recognize, that part of this is also because of Blue Sky's own doing, and it's also because of the pandemic. It's like a concoction of just really unfortunate events that ultimately all came together, and they accumulated to this. Let's see what else we got here. As someone whose favorite animated film overall is the Peanuts movie, this really freaking stings. As much as I dislike their dependence on the Ice Age series, seriously, I like the franchise and all, but Collision Course was complete garbage. Oh, absolutely. But I still enjoy most of their movies nonetheless, especially how they broke the mold for stylized animated features. And with that, Godspeed Blue Sky Studios. Alright, that's nice. I'm gonna miss Blue Sky. I am really going to miss my boy Scrat, which he was one of my childhood heroes because he did help me grow up as a boy with autism, as well as Chicken Little, Mickey Mouse, Shrek, and many more have made my life a little easier to have fun with the characters. Scrat will never go. He is in our hearts. I am angry at Disney for closing Blue Sky, but it will never change. I will make a funeral video in April. Yeah, it is going to be unfortunate, and it is going to be honestly interesting to see how the Ice Age franchise is going to go on without Blue Sky, because we have heard about the reports that apparently the series and the spin-off movie is still going to be happening, but considering this has happened, yeah, I think Disney would have to be careful when bringing out those projects, if they are still going on, because like in the wrong hands, or if they're not careful with it, then they're just going to spark outrage, and it's going to be like this week all over again, where Disney is just going to face a hellish PR over angry people that are mad at them for shutting down Blue Sky. Let's see what else we got here. Blue Sky Studios was quite a good studio that put out some really enjoyable films like the Peanuts movie, Rio, Horton, Robots, and Spies in Disguise. It's quite sad to see them go, and I wish all the artists and animators the best of luck at finding new jobs. Decisions like this are why I have mixed feelings towards Disney as a company. Alright then. Let's see what else. This is just sad. Nimona sounded really promising, and it looked like the start of an exciting new chapter for them. This is the sad reality of corporate consolidation. This was part of why the Fox merger scared me. They basically shut down a competitor. Blue Sky was never anyone's favorite, but they had a lot of talented artists who can bring out some beautiful visuals who were forced to make mediocre Ice Age movies. It's a sad time for the artists and their families. Rest in peace, Blue Sky. Very nice there. I'm going to go and read one more comment, and then we're going to go and move on to the next story. The pandemic being the cause of the shutdown, boy, when you put it that way, Matt, this makes me feel sorry for both Disney and Blue Sky. And I can imagine Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and the rest of the Peanuts gang fainting to the news the way Linus did regarding the Great Pumpkin, and the way they know how. Seeing as how the Peanuts movie was from Blue Sky and impressed even me. Actually, you know what? I'll go and read one more. Just want to do one last one, actually. Yes. Oh, this would be a nice one. Wishing only the best for all those East Coast animators who will be needing to find work. I was saddened by Blue Sky's closure. They may have had some duds, but the Peanuts movie was such a gem, and I even enjoyed the first Ice Age and Spies in Disguise. Canceling Nimona so late in production really hurt. From how people working on it and described it, it sounded like a unique film and might have been a good final film had they been given the chance. Part of me hopes this gets revived somehow. Unfortunately, I would say the harsh truth is that I highly doubt it. But who knows? Maybe we will see some clips emerge on the internet somehow. So yeah, overall though, may Blue Sky rest in peace, and may its legacy live on and continue forward the same way Scrat would go and hunt for that acorn. Okay, so now that we are officially done with this story right over here, now that we have said our final goodbyes to Blue Sky Studios, it is now time that we are going to go and jump onto our next story. And with the next one I have here, we're still going to be talking about Disney, and this is another corporate executive decision. And I just want to say, though, let's be honest, folks, as much as many people are upset at Disney with what they did with Blue Sky, you cannot say that all their decisions are horrible and are wrong this week. Because there was one good thing that they have done. In fact, something that they honestly should have done so long ago. And yes, we're going to be entering into some pretty controversial territories here, because what I will be discussing about is regarding Gina Carano. Yes, this is a bonus miscellaneous, but still, next to the Blue Sky story is the biggest entertainment news that did occur today, with social media to this day still discussing about it. Yes, Disney and Lucasfilm officially announced that they have fired Gina Carano from playing the role as Cara Dune in their hit Disney Plus series, The Mandalorian. Now, some of you might be wondering, why? What did she do in order to actually get fired? Well, for those of you who may not know, Gina Carano is an open conservative. She's openly conservative. But when I say conservative, I don't just mean your average run-of-the-mill Republican. I mean leaning so far right that she is in the levels of freaking QAnon conservative. I mean like really deep in that rabbit hole, really far right. And with that said, this week, she actually made a post that really went too far, that really got controversial, where she actually made a post where she compared that being a Republican nowadays is like being a Jew at the Holocaust. To which everyone's response is pretty much, I'm sorry, what did you say? What kind of stupid crap you stated? And from there, that's when Disney and Lucasfilm decided, okay, that's it, she's gotta go. In fact, we actually do have a statement from Lucasfilm themselves, reading directly from my source here on Gizmondo with IO9. It states, Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there are no plans for her to be in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating, yeah, sorry, it's just some big words for me to not comprehend. Anyways, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable. And the sad truth is that with Gina Carano, this is not her first time that she would go and make these delusional and controversial posts, because that in itself is actually another major rabbit hole. It even states, like, going down further, it even says here, that of course came after months of complaints about Carano's online presence, including mocking COVID mask mandates, spreading conspiracies about the United States election, liking posts disparaging the Black Lives Matter movement, and deriding pronoun usage. So basically, enforcing bigotry and spreading delusional conspiracies that have proven to be false information regarding wearing masks and regarding the 2020 US election. So I'm not kidding when I say that she really is so far right to the levels of QAnon here. She has been doing that for months, and this is not necessarily her first punishment that she has actually received from there, because there have actually been some reports that actually state that Disney was actually prepared to go and make a Cara Dune series, that they wanted to make another Mandalorian spinoff that mainly focuses on Cara Dune, on Gina Carano's character. But because she would go and make these controversial posts, Disney decided to hold back from those announcements. That was actually one of the big things that they wanted to announce on Disney's Investors Day during the end of 2020. But because she kept making all these stupid posts about anti-masks and voter fraud, they decided that they were just going to go and bail out from those discussions. They decided they're not going to go and keep Gina Carano if they would go and actually keep on doing this. Like, they'll keep her on the show, but they're not going to go and try to highlight that. So the big thing about this is that she is not fired because of that one controversial post. Although very stupid, that's not the only reason. It's because she had a very long history of making these stupid posts. And you know that the people around her would tell her to try to stop making these dumbass posts about anti-mask, about being a Trump supporter, and all that stupid delusional crap. They kept trying to tell her, please stop doing it, but she refused to listen. And this week, she had to pay the price. Not only losing probably the best thing that ever happened to her in her career, but she even lost her agency. So not only is this going to be a major hit for her in the short run, but even in the long run, her reputation right now is just dead in the water. And even to this day, believe it or not, she's still unapologetic. She still doesn't think that what she did is wrong. And her supporters all believe that she got fired. Oh, no. Actually, I need to use the term they're using. Apparently that she is canceled for being a conservative. Like, are you serious, dude? Being a that's what you call being a conservative? Is being a conservative comparing being sorry about that. It's just like, This news has honestly heated me up throughout most of the week with the kind of stupidity of how people are still defending Gina Carano and that are so dumb enough to think that she did nothing wrong. And the fact that they say, like, oh, she's just being a conservative. Okay, let me ask you this. Is being a conservative saying that disagreeing with you politically is the equivalent of being a Jew in the Holocaust? Is being a conservative believing in delusional conspiracy theories that are flat out lies, like about wearing masks and about the 2020 US election, even though there is literally no proof of how wearing masks is bad and that Joe Biden committed voter fraud? Is it conservative to keep on justifying your bigotry, to say that it's okay to be racist, to be xenophobic, to be transphobic, to be homophobic, to be sexist, and all that kind of stuff? Is that what being a conservative is about? Is that what your definition of what being a conservative is? If anything, that's just a freaking insult to conservatives. You're not a freaking conservative. You're trying to use your political beliefs as a desperate straw man excuse in order to get whatever you want. In fact, let me give you an example of what these types of conservatives are trying to do right now with that same dumbass excuse with Gina Carano. Like, imagine a scenario where you got one of those conservatives, like, they're at the dinner table, and their mom serves them a meal. You know, just a regular average meal, you know, some good food in there. But then that conservative noticed that there are some vegetables. And they don't want to eat their vegetables. They're pretty much behaving like, they're pretty much behaving like Caillou, where they just don't want it and they rather do whatever they want. And so, their response to looking at the vegetables, they would go and say, I don't want to eat these vegetables. In fact, I refuse to eat these vegetables. Liberals and the elite will tell you that vegetables are actually good for you. But in fact, vegetables are actually bad for you. And you are more likely to die from eating vegetables instead of not eating vegetables. You actually survive more, and it's better off if you don't eat vegetables. So for me, I refuse to eat my vegetables because it's part of my political beliefs. If you want to go and try to force me to eat my vegetables, if you refuse to respect my political beliefs, then honestly, you're just enforcing cancel culture. You're just trying to cancel me because I'm a conservative, and that makes you the bigot because you want me to eat my vegetables when you don't want to respect my political beliefs. I know, it sounds really stupid, right? But that's exactly what they're freaking trying to do right now with this stupid bullcrap. They're desperately trying to get whatever they want. They want to do whatever they want without facing the freaking consequences of it. And it's honestly ridiculous. And not to mention, by the way, the response of what these freaking Gina Carano defenders are trying to do. It's so freaking hypocritical because, of course, the Gina Carano fans are the desperate, idiotic, anti-SJW, Trump-supporting morons that are so hell-bent on cancel culture that they state that the worst thing to ever happen is cancel culture. And yet, what's their response? What do they want to do? What's their way of defending Gina Carano? Cancel Disney+. Essentially, they want to use cancel culture in order to fight against cancel culture. It really does send some mixed signals right there. And also, I just want to go and add to those people, not only is it freaking hypocritical, but I can guarantee you this, that the grand majority of people that you find on social media that are stating that they are canceling their Disney Plus subscription in order to stick it to the mouse, those people, they did not. I'm calling all those people out right now. They did not unsubscribe to Disney Plus. Because when it comes to all these Trump supporters and these anti-SJWs, we all know for a fact that they have a prominently long history of virtue signaling and bad faith acting, even amongst themselves. So yeah, they'll put up a post and they'll put up a screenshot of them trying to cancel Disney Plus and put out the reason that, oh, I'm canceling Disney Plus because you fired Gina Carano. But I can guarantee you, like, that would be them one day, and then literally the next, they would all be amongst themselves going, yo guys, did you see the latest episode of WandaVision? holy crap, things are getting crazy right now. It's absolutely insane. You gotta go and see it. And how did they see Disney? And how did they see WandaVision? It's because they actually did not unsubscribe to Disney Plus. Or maybe they did that day, but then suddenly, with the new WandaVision coming out, they decided to go and resubscribe. There is no way that they care about Gina Carano that much to go and miss out on not just WandaVision, but all the other major upcoming Marvel TV shows that they have coming up on Disney Plus, all the other upcoming Star Wars shows, and not to mention the massive collection that's already on Disney Plus. So I'm calling them out right now that all these people are just virtue signaling. And I know for a fact that all these anti-SJWs and these conservative Star Wars fans, they don't care about Gina Carano. In fact, let me ask you this. Do you know how many of these Gina Carano defenders, when she first emerged in The Mandalorian, they despised her? Do you know how many of those anti-SJW YouTube channels would go and put up videos saying like, oh, who the hell hold on a sec here. Let me just put up a picture of here, yeah, like, oh, who the hell is this Mary Sue right here? Oh, is the Mandalorian gonna be woke? Oh my god. Oh, Disney is trying to put in feminism now? Is it gonna be like another sequel trilogy thing? Are they gonna make another Rose? Are they gonna make another Rey? What is this woman bullcrap? This is just pandering to SJWs. You know how many of them have done that before? It wasn't until Gina Carano expressed her lunacy, her complete insanity of believing those QAnon conspiracy theories, where they decided to go and support her. So all this is just massively bullcrap. And overall, when it comes to this controversy, yeah, she got what she deserved. Yeah, it's freedom of speech, and she is allowed to say those things. She's allowed to go and express those controversial statements. But freedom of speech is not freedom of consequence. That's the thing with the First Amendment. That's actually how it works. Yes, you're allowed to say whatever you want, but the public is allowed to go and respond and give her consequences for it. In fact, that's not just the First Amendment, that's just how life in general works. And if you still don't comprehend that, then honestly, you're still way too freaking stupid to live, or you need some serious therapy in order to comprehend some basic freaking common sense. And that's really and honestly for me, I actually do find that very unfortunate that Gina Carano has this delusional mentality, because she decided that this messed up mental state is somehow more important than what she has right now. I mean, keep in mind, she was living the dream. She was playing a beloved Star Wars character in one of the most popular series in recent years, and was ready to even have her own franchise, and a part of Star Wars, nonetheless, at the same time. And I will admit personally, as someone who does watch The Mandalorian, I actually really enjoyed Cara Dune. I liked her as a character. You know, she's like a great a great feminist character, like a strong, independent woman, like really badass. And I know a lot of people don't like her acting, but I do find it fine. And I'll be honest, Gina Carano, I do find to be extremely attractive. Like, she really is hot. But unfortunately, with all that, with everything she had, she decided to waste it away so that she could keep her delusional mentality. I mean, seriously, I don't want to say that Gina Carano has a mental problem, because honestly, that would actually be offensive to people who have mental disabilities and stuff like that. Like it would be something that people would want to take the wrong way. I mean, I wish I could find like what can we call like this mental state that Gina Carano has, because we all know that it's not okay, but there has to be some kind of term or something like that. Again, I don't want to say that she has a mental problem, because people will take that the wrong way. So it's just, it's difficult. Yeah, like some people are saying like, yeah, she's insane or something like that. That could be an option. Or stubborn. Oh, yo, you know what? Someone actually got the right answer. It really is stubbornness. this is really, like, really the whole thing with Gina Carano really is the case of stubbornness. And she pretty much destroyed her whole career all because of stubbornness. Yeah, like some people could say she's insane, that she's delusional, but overall, like, I think really a major thing of that is really just stubbornness. That she doesn't want to learn that her mental state is not okay. That it's not okay to support a Jim Jones-like cult leader like Donald Trump. Or it's not okay to have these bigoted ideologies. Or to believe in these conspiracy theories that are proven to be not true at all. Whether it be about wearing masks or whether it be about the 2020 election. She's too stubborn and decided to let all that go. And you know, the funny thing about that is that despite everything that did happen to her, she somehow still thinks that at the end, she still comes out okay, mainly because of the recent news that she's gonna be now, like, because she got fired from Star Wars and stuff like that, now she's gonna be collaborating with Ben Shapiro in order to be in a new movie. Oh yeah, like that's going to uncancel her. That's going to save her career. Working with frickin' Ben Shapiro, the man who is infamous for only being a conservative because he is a talentless writer that nobody wants to go and pick up his scripts. And so he decides to live his life to secretly be ashamed of his Jewish heritage so he could be a white supremacist like all his fans and go and inspire mass shootings and terrorist attacks like what happened at the Capitol. Oh, like that's gonna frickin' save your career. Like, even at that is bullcrap right there. And I think that really does cement how her career is just flat out dead. Because I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna predict the future right now of what's gonna happen with Gina Carano. Like, right now, like, yeah, she'll go and make her movie with Ben Shapiro. That film will somehow be made and it will be released. No one's gonna give a crap about it. And then right afterwards, she's gonna live with the consequences of still being fired from both Disney and from her own agency. Because, yeah, she'll have that one thing where she'll claim, like, oh, I'm uncanceled, I'm still in a movie, but then afterwards, it's like, yeah, you still have no agency, and you're still not a part of one of the biggest film franchises of all time. You lost everything because you're still a delusional bigot. And honestly, I do wish that Gina Carano can, like, separate herself from these far-right conservatives so that she could find the medical attention that she needs, that she could find some therapy, take some medication in order to become a mentally functioning human being again. But overall, the sad truth with Gina Carano is that she got what she deserves. And when it comes to the future of The Mandalorian, honestly, I don't know. I mean, like, with season 2, it is established, like, yeah, she's a major character, but not like an important character where the show needs her in order to continue. So, like, honestly, I'm open to whatever option that they got. Maybe they'll kill her off screen, or maybe they'll replace her, or maybe they'll just cut her out of the script and never be mentioned again. Who knows? But still, though, the moral of the story is you have freedom of speech, of course, but you're never free from the freedom of consequences, regardless of what your political beliefs are. So, with that said and done, I would like to go and go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about Gina Carano finally leaving Disney, not leaving, but finally getting fired after all the stupid posts? And also, what do you think that Disney should do with the character of Cara Dune? Let me know what you think. Okay. Let's see what we got here right now. Alright. Wow, this week was actually been the craziest. I am actually glad that Disney and Lucasfilm fired her for making those comments and believing in false conspiracy theories. Basically, I think Gina Carano is being like Caillou. My question is, who will replace her as Cara Dune for the new Star Wars spinoff? And did I enjoy her as Cara Dune? And I did enjoy her as Cara Dune, but due to the controversy, I know about her now because I felt like, I don't know how to feel about her anymore because I feel like she took it too far being a very stubborn person, so I don't blame ya. Yeah, exactly. Honestly, like, right now I feel like the best badass character in The Mandalorian, like that title now belongs to Ming-Na Wen. No matter how people feel, like no matter what, it's objectively not Cara Dune the badass character. It's now Ming-Na Wen. She's the badass. She's like the badass girl in the show now. Or like technically, like now she's gonna be a part of the book of Boba Fett. So like technically, but you guys know what I mean. Let's see what else we got here. The entire debacle with Gina Carano reminds me about this one guy who was suspended from Twitter because he was sending death threats to people who liked the Star Wars sequels, and he tried to say, Twitter suspended me because I hate pedophiles. Wait, what? I haven't much to say here, but to paraphrase the Cell Block Tango, she had it coming. She had it coming. She only had herself to blame. Oh my god, you're really going with the pedo excuse on that? Dude, I mean, seriously, man. Like, that's also, like, that's a can of worms in itself. And like, that's another whole debate on how, like, some stubborn people and how some fandoms take the term of pedophilia, like, way too loosely. Like, basically, it's now becoming a definition of people that I don't like or people that have different opinions of me. Like, seriously, man. The fan base has serious problems. Like, if they support, like, every person has, every single person who supports Gina Carano in the Star Wars fan base has some serious issues, and they all deserve to take some medication in order to bring back some common sense into them. So it really does highlight the problems with the Star Wars fan base, especially with its misogyny. I mean, why else do you think they keep on blaming Kathleen Kennedy for everything and not give her any form of credit for stuff that the Star Wars franchise has did good recently, like with The Mandalorian? Let's see. I'm glad that Gina got fired and no longer a part of The Mandalorian, though I got one big question about this news, and that is, what are they going to do with Rosario Dawson, since she and her family have had a history of being a TERF, and she's still going to play Ahsoka Tano in other Star Wars projects. Yeah, that's gonna be another debate right there. As long that depends on how frequent Rosario Dawson would be a TERF, because if she would keep on going at, like, if she would be like J.K. Rowling and keep on saying that, then yeah, maybe they would have to go and cancel like the Ahsoka series and stuff like that. But for now, like, she, like, hopefully with what happened with Gina Caro, she will keep her transphobic comments shut. So hopefully that could give her a lesson too. Now let's see. All I can say is goodbye, you TERF. This was long overdue. I hope she never works in the industry again. Of course, you get fired from one of the biggest franchises and the infinite Disney money just to own the libs. I have a theory that being stuck at home caused people, including Gina, to believe insane QAnon conspiracy theories. Also, Ben Shapiro is an idiotic boob who is a terrible writer, and nobody wants to work with him and Gina because they're both, excuse my language, assholes. Well, yeah, I mean, like, working with Ben Shapiro is pretty much certifying your death sentence. It's like, what happened is that her career is dead, and all she's doing is just visiting Ben Shapiro in order to go and, like, write down the death certificate. That's all she's basically doing. And also, yeah, like, I completely agree with the thing with Ben Shapiro being an idiotic boob. Everyone knows that. Even Republicans knows that Ben Shapiro is an idiot. He's actually more helpful for liberals in order to enforce his form of conservative ideologies, which is basically really just simple-minded. Like, Ben Shapiro is one of the best arguments of why liberals are objectively smarter than far-right conservatives. Or at least the Trump-supporting ones. There is no such thing as a Trump supporter that is more intelligent than any liberal out there. And Ben Shapiro is the living proof of that. Let's see, what else do we have there? To quote the Joker, you get what you freaking deserve. I might like the character of Kara, but Gina is just a big douche, and I am glad that she got the boot. As for Kara's character in the future, she might just die off screen, or we might be told that she is way too busy with something. Though you did mention a good idea of what to do with Cara Dune on Twitter, hashtag heavy for Cara Dune. Yeah, I remember someone mentioned on Twitter that maybe fans are going to go and make some kind of crazy edit where they would show the Mandalorian, except replace Cara Dune with Heavy from Team Fortress 2, and using softwares like Gmod or maybe SFM in order to go and do that. So if it's possible, that would honestly be really awesome. Like, replace all of Gina Carano scenes with Heavy from The Mandalorian. So, hashtag Heavy for Cara Dune. All right, I think I'll go and read one more comment before we jump into the next story here. This was absolutely deserved. Considering how she made absolutely horrible comments on Twitter, Disney did the right thing to fire Gina Carano, even though she did a good job in the series. She is absolutely a horrible person, and just horrible as a human being. Also, I have to say, cancel Disney Plus is the stupidest hashtag ever created since released the Snyder Cut. Yeah, the whole hashtag Disney Plus thing isn't gonna last long, and I can like I said before, the grand majority of those people who say hashtag cancel Disney Plus haven't even canceled Disney Plus because they're not willing to sacrifice their beloved shows like WandaVision. So I'm just saying. So yeah, you got what you deserve, Gina. And hopefully people with that same mindset also suffer the same fate as well. You get what you deserve, and you can have your freedom of speech, but with your freedom of speech, you must also have freedom. You must also have your consequences as well. Did I say that before? It's like freedom of speech is freedom of consequence? No, honestly, no, I don't think so. But you guys get what I mean. Okay, so with that said, now it is time that we are going to go and jump to our next story. And the next story that we got right over here, we're going to be talking about a couple of big shows that are going to be coming soon. And there have been a lot of major animated series that have actually been announced, especially coming from Fox, where we have heard the news so far that apparently there is a report that not only is Fox going to be collaborating with Dan Harmon in order to make a new animated series based in ancient Greece, but also Fox is going to be making an animated series based on the board game Clue. But those aren't going to be the shows that I will specifically be talking about, though, because there are a couple of more noteworthy ones that will be happening on HBO Max instead. And what I will be talking about is actually regarding the Clone High and Velma series. Yes, HBO Max has officially revealed that not only have they ordered the series Clone High from Viacom, CBS, and MTV, but also that they are going to be working on a brand new Scooby-Doo series that will mainly be focusing on Velma. First of all, let's go and discuss about Clone High. Now, of course, you may remember last summer that it was revealed that Viacom CBS was planning to go and reboot many of their adult animated series, that they wanted to do a spin-off of Daria, that they want to do a reboot of Beavis and Butthead, that they want to do a reboot of Clone High, and that they might also be doing a reboot of Ren and Stimpy. Some say that it's canceled, some say it's still happening, but who knows? Like, at least we know that it was announced. But when it comes to Clone High, surprisingly enough, that is actually now going to be moved to HBO Max, where, as you may recall in that announcement, that the original creators will indeed be coming back, including Phil Lord, Chris Miller, and Bill Lawrence, with Lord and Miller not only executive producing, but also they are going to be a part of the writing group for the series. And already they have asked for 2 seasons of the new Clone High of the new Clone High series. But on top of that, there have been other announcements that they have made as well. They have picked up a new series as well, which is called Fired on Mars. In fact, I think there's a little bit of a description here in which it states, reading from my source here on Variety, it actually says, Fired on Mars hails from creators Nate Sherman and Nick Vokey. It is described as an existential workplace comedy set on the Martian campus of a modern tech company. Pete Davidson voices a character and executive produces with Carson Mell and Dave Cyrus. But the other major feature, or actually no, before I get into the big one as well, there is also another announcement regarding the J.G. Quintel series Close Enough, where not only it did very well on HBO Max, but on top of that, they stated that they're already set for a season 2 for Close Enough that's going to be coming soon on February 25th. And on top of that, they even revealed that yes, a season 3 is going to be happening as well. But anyways, with all that said and done, there is also the big one that I need to talk about, which of course is regarding the Velma series. Yes, we don't really know much about what's happening with the Velma series. All we know is that they're going to be making an animated spin-off of Scooby-Doo that stars Velma. And on top of that, so far we only got 10 episodes that are being ordered so far. And also that the voice of Velma is actually going to be from Mindy Kaling, which she will also be executive producing the series as well. So these are the two major shows that are going to be coming to HBO Max. Now, technically, we could also debate that there was another major announcement. Technically, it's from the CW, where they have officially ordered the live-action, gritty reboot of the Powerpuff Girls, but I've already talked about that in full in a previous episode when that was first announced. But what I want to focus here is regarding Clone High and with the Velma series. So with Clone High, I gotta say that, honestly, I was pretty surprised that this is gonna be coming to HBO Max. Mainly because of the fact that, as I said before, it was announced all at the same time with the other reboots that MTV and Viacom CBS wants to do, like with Beavis and Butthead, possibly Ren and Stimpy, the Daria spinoff, and all that kind of stuff, that Clone High would also be a part of them. And I was ready to go and expect that it would just stay within that MTV campus, that they would go and present that on Paramount Plus. But I guess Paramount made a bigger deal with HBO Max, and they would go and actually give it to them, and they decided to go and give it to them instead of just saving it for their own streaming service. And I mean, yes, it is true that it's only going to be released in a few weeks. We don't know how things are going to be. But then again, I guess when it comes to Paramount, they are more free to go and collaborate with other distributors and other streaming services in order to present their shows and their movies. Considering this week that not only did they give HBO Max Clone High, but they did also give the My Little Pony movie that was supposed to be in theaters this year. They decided to go and give them to give that to Netflix, and Netflix is going to go and release that movie sometime this year. So it goes to show that for Paramount, they are a little bit more free to go and collaborate with other streaming services and to help them out as well, while they are going to go and create their own streaming service with Paramount Plus. Now, is this going to hurt them? Will it actually help things out for Paramount for them to do that? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So that's my one comment that I will say about it. I mean, yeah, it's definitely great that like people are going to get more Clone High. But again, I will say that I was honestly a bit surprised that it would go to HBO Max instead of staying within the Viacom CBS campus with Paramount Plus. But then we would have the Velma series. And honestly, we all know it's not necessarily the first time that we have seen spin-offs of Scooby-Doo. Of course, like, we got like the hundreds of spin-offs that happened during the 70s and 80s that mainly focus just on Shaggy and Scooby-Doo. And sometimes they would mix things up among the cast. Like sometimes it's just Shaggy and Scooby. Sometimes it's like Scrappy-Doo along with Scooby and Shaggy. And then there's like that one series, like I think it was the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, where you have Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby-Doo, Scrappy-Doo, and then like you got that one random, the one random kid, Flip Flop! Anyone remember Flip Flop? you know that one little kid that sounds like, that sounds like Toad from the Mario games? Ah, yes, because I'm sure everyone remembers Flip Flop. We all gotta remember Flip Flop. Okay, anyways, though, it has happened a lot. Even recently, we have started to see some spin-offs. In fact, there was at one point, one live-action movie that tried to make, like, an origin story with Daphne and Velma, how they met together before joining, the Mystery Gang. Like, they tried to do that, but then again, it's one of those direct-to-DVD movies that I'd rather not want to touch with a 10-foot pole. Yeah, basically this is to say that, like, we have seen plenty of these Scooby-Doo spin-offs before, but this is the first time, however, that we have seen a spin-off related to a character that's not either Shaggy or Scooby-Doo. That this time, it's actually going to be focused on Velma. And we know there is a massive fan base with Velma. We all know regarding the popularity of Velma and how there have been so many people who have a massive crush on her, often stating that they always love Velma more than Daphne and all that kind of stuff. So honestly, it was just about a matter of time that Velma would go and have her own series. But there is one major thing that I would like to state, and probably this is the only major thing that we do know about this Velma series, and that is regarding the fact that Mindy Kaling is actually going to be voicing Velma instead of the usual voice, Mindy Kahn. Now, one thing that I will state is that I do understand the controversy about replacing the voice of a character with celebrity voices. I mean, we all went through that, and we all discussed that heavily when the 2020 Scoob movie was released, when they would go and replace almost the entire cast with just a bunch of random celebrities that don't even sound like the characters that they're playing, like Zac Efron, Amanda Seyfried, Gina Rodriguez, and especially Will Forte. So there are some people, of course, that they would go and react the same way. Oh, actually, someone corrected me. Okay, sorry about that. Mindy Kahn has been unable to voice Velma for a while. Her current voice is actress Kate Micusi. Micusi. Okay, yeah, Kate Micusi. Is it how you say her name? Kate Micusi? Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I do apologize for that little mistake, but yeah, you get what I mean, though, that some people would rather want to have Kate Micusi to be the voice of Velma instead of just a random celebrity. And this might sound like one of those cases here, that it is like just picking a celebrity to voice a popular character, which in this case is Velma from Scooby-Doo, instead of their respective voice actor. So, but one thing that I will say, though, one thing that I do have to state is that, yes, we are getting a celebrity voicing a character like Velma. But am I the only one that feels like Mindy Kaling is actually a pretty good choice for Velma? Like, let's go and take a moment and actually think about Mindy Kaling's voice as Velma. Oh, crap. You know what? I actually should have, I should have actually brought in an example. I should actually go and find an example for this. But the reason why I think it's actually a pretty solid idea for Mindy Kaling to voice Velma is actually because she, like, when you think about her voice, she actually does have a bit of that kind of, that style in her voice. In fact, just give me a second. I'll go and actually, like, I found this quick little video here. This is apparently from Vice President Kamala Harris's YouTube channel, and actually, hold on a sec. Here, you need to see this, so just play this a little bit.
I don't want to suffer the consequences of our future president not liking my Indian food.
Can I just tell you something?
Yeah.
I've never made dosas.
Let's go a little
That was how my mother kept all of this stuff.
That's so
would
funny.
have to think, what is that?
Do they tell each
I
other?
don't know.
Don't worry, I'm sure we can find, like, a better example of, like, Mindy Kaling's voice. Like, there's gotta be, like, one moment where we can have, like, a clear understanding of it. So, let's just take a quick listen.
With them, he'd get very mischievous and he'd say, okay.
And we would.
Oh, Oh, there we go.
But then I'd get older, cool cousins who would take me out on their motorcycles, and we would all split like a lamb burger.
Right, it
Because
was
fast
like
food,
right.
but like no beef or anything,
Right.
obviously. But we would have lamb burger, and then we couldn't tell any of our grandparents about it. That's
So that was just like one quick example that I wanted to bring up. But the point that I'm trying to make is that when you do listen to her voice, she does have a little bit of that geeky, high-pitch style that actually does fit with Velma's personality. That Mindy Kaling actually does have that style of voice that would sound like it would come out of a character like Velma. So that's why I feel like this choice is not a bad idea. This choice is actually pretty good. I can actually hear Mindy Kaling be the voice in Velma right there. So it actually does make sense. And it actually does fit very well. And also, I just want to make a quick little mention about one moment on social media where Mindy Kaling just pretty much won, like, probably the best response of the week. Where, yeah, you would get the typical people who got butthurt hearing the news that Mindy Kaling would actually be the voice of Velma for an upcoming spin-off series. And there's this one guy on social media, he was butthurt, he was upset, so his response is the scene from Office when Michael Scott did his famous no scene. You know, the one who's like, no, God! No, God, please, no! 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 Like, you guys know that one. And Mindy Kaling's response to that was, I wrote that scene in that episode. And from there, she just, like, dominated everything. So, bravo. It was just beautiful. It was it's the best response you can make. It was just beautiful. Just amazing about it. And not just that. Considering that she's not just going to be the star, not just the star of the Velma series, but also that she is also going to be the executive producer. One thing that I am hoping for is that maybe we will get a little bit of that Mindy Kaling taste onto the Velma series, that we will have her style of comedy, because she's not just an actress, but she's actually a very well-established writer and comedian. Now, she's not going to be writing it, but hopefully we will see that sense of her brand of comedy be put onto the Velma series. And if she's capable of doing that, then I think they could actually go and make something solid with this. I think this Velma series could actually work out very well. Maybe it might end up seem a little bit different than the Velma that people might recognize, but at least there will be enough to stay true to the spirit of who Velma is, while adding in so much more with the character, because I'm sure there's like so many things that people can do in order to go and explore with Velma. Not to mention that maybe they will go and explore a bit more with her sexuality, because among the entire gang in the mystery machine, among all the people in the mystery gang, Velma has often been the one that is considered to possibly be most likely to be gay, or most likely to, most likely to not be straight, basically. I'm not saying that she's a lesbian immediately. She could be bi, she could be pan. She could go in, many different ways, but, actually, the best way to put it is that Velma is the one that is most likely to be a part of the LGBTQIA+ community among all the people in the mystery gang. So maybe they could actually go and explore that a bit more. And we are at the point that we are seeing kids shows actually be more open and more accepting towards the LGBT+ community. Not to mention, even children's shows like Blue's Clues are actually becoming more accepting towards those groups. So maybe they could also go and explore more of that with Velma. So who knows? Now they could actually go and make that canon. And it's not like it's going to be on TV. It's going to be on HBO Max. So ultimately, that's going to be something that we will wait and see. But I will state that overall, with both the Velma series and with Clone High, it's just going to give HBO Max more content for people to be excited about. And I could totally imagine that this is actually going to be it could actually be something that could help strengthen up the streaming service and to give more reason for people to get excited about, especially with Clone High coming into HBO Max now. So we'll see with how things go with these shows, but already both of them actually do sound pretty exciting. Alright, so with that said, I'd like to go into the chat wall right now, and I would like to go and ask you all, what do you think about both Clone High and the Velma series being a part of HBO Max? Are you guys excited for them? What are you hoping to go and see? Is there one that you might prefer over the other? Let me know what you think right now. Oh god, already we're seeing someone angry. Oh yeah, that's also another thing that people are massively upset about. Someone even states right here, it's like, oh, you know, all of that is good, but HBO Max, what about renewing another popular and well-loved show like, oh, you know, I don't know, maybe how about Infinity Train? Just a thought! Yeah, I've seen a lot of people seemingly, like, seriously upset over the fact, I like, is it, like, I don't know if it's, like, official, but it looks like the signs all indicate that Infinity Train seems to be pretty much canceled and there won't be any more new episodes. Like, I have yet to see any episodes yet, even though I think, honestly, I really should. But, like, did it end off on a cliffhanger? Oh, yeah, okay, so they did. Okay, so it is confirmed that. Oh, wait. Oh, they confirmed that Infinity Train is not canceled. Oh, then what the fridge is people what are people complaining about then? What the fridge is going on? Alright, anyways, let's go and continue on here. An adult series based on Velma? Interesting. Actually, timeout, no. I don't think there is any confirmation that it is going to be specifically for adults. I don't think we got a confirmation of that, so we cannot say right now if it actually is an adult animated series that is going to star Velma. Anyways, and after hearing the example, it's actually pretty good. But unlike this series, I've actually seen a good fan project on DeviantArt. There's a project called The Scary Cases of Scooby-Doo. The concepts are really good that can actually rival Mystery Incorporated. Would it be alright if I send you a link? Well, I mean, I guess, but I'm like in the middle of a show right now, so it's not like I can actually check it out right now. Alright, anyways, now let's go and move on. Both these shows sound pretty interesting in their own right. Velma could be a lot of fun and should hopefully be way better than the Daphne and Velma movie. Remember that? I'd rather not. As for Clone High, I never saw the show aside from the memes, but I just hope that it can get me into it and that nothing bad ever does happen to the Kennedys. Nothing bad happens to the Kennedys! Ah! Oh, yeah. But one question remains, for supper, will JFK get his party platter? Oh, yeah, like, I could pretty much imagine that people are going to be capitalizing on the memes of Clone High. Or not the people, but, like, there's gonna be a lot of callbacks to those memes. I wouldn't be surprised if they do so. Especially when JFK has been supplying so many of those memes. Like, one of my favorites actually is just like, I like your funny words, Magic Man. Alright, let's see what else we got here. I have an update on my earlier comment. I discovered that the real reason why Kate Micusi took over the voice of Velma, that after finishing her work on Scooby-Doo Rock and Roll Mystery, Mindy Kahn was diagnosed with breast cancer and chose to step down to focus on her treatment. Oh, I see. Oh, I wish her the best of luck on that. As for Mindy Kaling, for a better example of how her Velma could have potential, I recommend you check out Inside Out again, and as she voiced the character of Disgust. Yeah, honestly, the funny thing is that my go-to example of hearing Mindy Kaling's voice is actually as Disgust. But I was trying to find I was trying to find a clip of just Mindy Kaling being Mindy Kaling, because even her personality actually leans a lot more towards Velma than towards Disgust from Inside Out. So that's why it's like, just show Mindy Kaling being herself. It's like Mindy Kaling being a little bit of Velma as well. So that's why I just wanted to show that. What else do we have here? What else? All I can say is jinkies. I'm actually very mixed about the Velma series. On one hand, Velma seems like the mystery Onk member outside of Shaggy and Scooby, who has the potential to have her own series since I find her the most interesting. On the other hand, however, I don't know how I feel about it being an adult animated series. Again, there is no confirmation about being an adult animated series, people. There is not... Oh, wait. Hold on a sec. Oh, maybe there is. Fudge. I was actually just... Like, I just took a look at the... I just took a look at the update here saying it's like... Velma Dickley series like just the title of the article. Velma Dickley series starring Mindy Kaling, Clone High reboot among HBO Max adult animation orders. Oh, fudge nab. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it is going to be an adult animated series. Oh, fudge. Well now. Okay, then I guess this series is going to be a lot more interesting than I thought. Anyways, at the most adult Scooby-Doo has ever gotten was with Scooby Natural, the crossover between Scooby-Doo and the CW series Supernatural. So I'll wait and see what happens. Yeah, it's going to be something we will have to wait and see on. Alright, I think I'll go and read one more comment before we jump into the next story now. The shows I look forward to the most are the Clone High reboot and Close Enough Season 2. Not sure about Fired on Mars, and I'm having a bit of doubt on the Velma series. While Scooby-Doo has had shows that don't always feature the full gang, like the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries, Shaggy and Scooby Get a Clue, and the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, they were some of the weaker shows of the franchise. Usually one of Scooby-Doo's biggest strengths is having the whole gang involved. Well, yeah, you could have a point there, but ultimately, it's probably for the best that we will have to wait and see with how the series goes. Alright, so moving on to the next story that I have over here, we're going to be talking about Netflix. And once again, I have stated that Netflix has had a few animation news going around this week, including the already mentioned My Little Pony movie that's not going to be released in theaters instead of going towards Netflix. But there is another story that Netflix actually did put out that got a lot of people pretty excited right now, that people are hyping up to see this story be brought to life in a brand new way. And what I'm going to be talking about, of course, is regarding Netflix's adaptation of Redwall. Yes, Netflix has officially announced that they have managed to get the rights of the Brian Jacques book series in order to turn that into not just an animated feature, but also as an animated series where we are going to have one major feature film that's going to be based on the whole Redwall books and stuff like that. And then they are going to go and move on to a TV series that will be inspired by the story arc of Martin the Warrior. And so far, we don't have a lot of information regarding like where specifically the movie will be basing their stories on, like which characters are they really going to be focusing on. We know that the series will be about Martin the Warrior, but we don't know about the others as well. Well, we don't know like who's going to be the focus of the movie. Maybe it's going to be Matthias, but we will have to go and wait and see. But the biggest thing about this is that even though we don't really have a whole lot of information, we do know who's going to be involved. Yes, Netflix is going to be collaborating with Penguin Random House Children's UK, but the person that will be responsible and will be at least one of the leaders of this project is actually going to be Patrick McHale, which you guys probably know as the creator of Over the Garden Wall, as well as one of the writers for Guillermo del Toro's upcoming stop-motion animated film, Pinocchio. And from there, we actually do have a couple of comments coming from the people who are in charge of the Redwall books. First off, we actually got a comment from Ben Horslin, who is the fictional publisher at Penguin Random House Children's. As he states, "We couldn't be more delighted to announce this deal. These perennially popular stories have been etched onto the hearts of millions of readers, and we are thrilled to partner with Netflix to bring those beloved characters on screen for families worldwide to enjoy. On top of that, also, we got another comment here coming from Alan Ingram, who is a representative of the owners of Brian Jacques' intellectual property, the Redwall Abbey Company, in which Alan states, Brian Jacques often traveled the globe to tell his Redwall stories to young audiences, more often than not at their schools. Brian would have been very happy to see that Netflix shares his joy and desire to bring his stories to life as a brand new universe of films, series, and potentially much more for audiences of all ages to enjoy. We are very excited to embark on this new endeavor with Netflix and Penguin Random House UK. So that's pretty much the big thing that we know so far, is that Netflix is ready to turn Redwall not just as an animated film, not just as a series, but as a whole animated franchise, that they really want to go and try to make a big deal with Redwall. And I'm not gonna lie, personally, I feel like this could be a sign that this is Netflix really trying to go and compete against Disney. I know it may sound a little bit weird, but I do have a little bit of a theory that part of the reason why they want to go and bring Redwall to life is to go and fight against Disney, because as you guys probably know, one of the most anticipated projects that Disney has coming up is actually going to be, I don't think it's a movie, but I believe it's going to be a series that's going to be inspired by the Peter Jackson books. And that is something that millions of fans are hyping up, they're excited to check out, and they want to see this new adaptation of Percy Jackson. That's why they're all ready to go and check it out on Disney+. So, in order to go and compete against Percy Jackson and Disney+, Netflix decided they're going to go and do that with another classic children's book series, which in this case is going to be Redwall. Again, did I say Peter Jackson? I am sorry, oh god, I am so sorry. If I did say Peter Jackson instead of Percy Jackson, then I do apologize. But yes, you get what I mean, though. It's Disney Plus is adapting the Percy Jackson books. So, people are excited for that, and hopefully, they are hoping that at least it will be better, maybe better than the movies, or better yet, at least better than that disastrous Broadway show. If there's one thing I do know about Percy Jackson is that it appeared on Broadway, and it did not go well. But yes, anyways, going back to Redwall, I will admit, I am not really that familiar with the book series, but I do remember as a kid, I actually did watch the Nelvana series because I remember it was back in the late 1990s and the early 2000s. Nelvana actually made an entire series based on Redwall, and I recall that for each different season, there would actually be the focus would actually go and shift, or they would show a long passage of time where it's like one season represents a whole generation. One good example is with season 1, I remember the main focus was actually Matthias. Season 2 was focused on Matthias' son, I believe. I forgot his name. If you could figure that out for me, that would be a great help. I remember it was a strange name, but all I recall, at least the name of the season was named after Matthias' son. Yes, thank you, Leslie. Matameo. It's Matameo, yes. Okay, so season 1 is focused on Matthias, season 2 is focused on Matameo, and then season 3 is focused on Martin the Warrior. And I do recall watching that series, and I didn't really have the best memory of Redwall. I wouldn't consider it my top, oh my god, my absolute favorite series that I remember so fondly. But I do remember watching the series, though, and I recall that it was definitely one of the more serious Canadian series that I have watched, where even the art style was taken a lot more seriously, where even if they are anthropomorphic animals, they are still realistically depicted as animals. That in a way, the art style, I would say, is kind of like a mix of Disney's Robin Hood with Watership Down. It's kind of like if you go and mix those two up, then you pretty much got the art style of Nelvana's Redwall. And not only is the art style taken more seriously, but even the tone itself. It's not really a comedic series that you would find on something like Teletoon. This really was something where it did take itself seriously to go and tell this epic tale of Redwall and the story of these little anthropomorphic characters on this this serious medieval style story. There are times when it could even get intense. So I do remember watching that show and how that is taken seriously. So hearing this news about the fact that Netflix is going to go and adapt Redwall, and not just that, but also have Patrick McHale to go and work on the movie and the series, honestly, it really does give me good feelings that Netflix is indeed going to do good with Redwall. That I think, honestly, the books are most likely in the right hands right now, especially with Patrick McHale, because you may recall, if you have seen Over the Garden Wall, if you haven't, please do so. It's a phenomenal animated series, or just an animated miniseries on Cartoon Network, but still definitely one of the best things to come out of Cartoon Network in recent years, right up there with Steven Universe and Adventure Time. But the thing with Patrick McHale is that he knows how to stay true with his theme, and also to even go dark with it. And that's one major thing with Redwall, that even though it is aimed more towards kids, it's not afraid to really go into that dark territory. And that's really one major thing to go and emphasize. And I hope that it is emphasized with Redwall, that it could actually go, in a way, you know what? Maybe the best thing that I could compare it to, a great way to compare Redwall would be with The Secret of Nim. It's a little bit like that, maybe a little less magic, but there are some comparisons, and there are some similar themes, there are some similar tones, and similar type of anthropomorphic animals that are actually featured in both Secret of Nim and with Redwall. So hopefully they would go into that kind of seriousness, because I remember even in The Secret of Nim, there would be some seriously intense moments, and even times of matters of life and death, and some epic sword fighting that does get involved. And hopefully we will see a lot more of that with both the movie and with the animated series. So again, I'm just speculating on this, but that's what I am hoping for. And definitely with Patrick McHale, and so far with how Netflix is going, being a little bit more open to being experimental and give creators more of an advantage to be creative with their projects. Honestly, overall, the best that I could say about this series is that even though we don't necessarily have a whole lot of information about it, I will say that I feel like it definitely is in the right hands. That honestly, there is a stronger chance than not that Netflix is actually going to do good for the fans of Redwall, and maybe reintroduce Redwall to new audiences, to go and present them this world of Redwall and meet up with characters like Matthias and Matameo and Martin the Warrior, so that they could go and create this epic tale. And not to mention as well, one thing that already got so many people hooked is regarding this concept art that they got over here. This is apparently the concept art that they have presented, where you see it's kind of you see the mouse character that could be either Matthias or Martin the Warrior, that he's in this cathedral, and you see the a window that's shining a massive light on him, and then you see he's just staring at this mural that shows this great legend, almost Legend of Zelda where you see the modern Link looks back at the old Link from Ocarina of Time or something, and the great legend that has been told about him. It kind of reminds me of that. But when you do look at the concept art that they have so far, it's beautifully detailed, and hopefully we will see that same amount of detail that will be put onto the art style, since it is going to be an animated series. But overall, it does make me pretty optimistic about this. I think if we are going to revisit the world of Redwall, then honestly, why not give it to Netflix? Why not give it to Patrick McHale? I think they could actually go and make something great out of this. I don't know specifically where in the timeline they will go and adapt it, but hopefully it will be a way to go and not just be satisfying for fans, but to also go and pretty much reintroduce Redwall so that newer fans can also be on board with it. I will admit my memory of it, of Redwall, or at least with the Nelvana series, is a little bit fuzzy, so maybe this series can help go and refresh my memory. Okay, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to go and ask you all, how do you feel about the Redwall series? Are you guys excited for it? And especially if you are a fan of the Redwall books, how do you feel about Netflix and Patrick McHale turning Redwall into an animated film and an animated series? Let me know what you think on this. Alright, let's see now. I never actually read or heard of Redwall, but I do know some games that were kind of influenced by Redwall. For example, Ghost of a Tale and Moss. I'm not really too familiar with this series, but if I see a trailer for this film and series, then maybe I'll give it a go. And my Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury for Switch came in by the mail, so I might have gotten distracted and missed the comment you were reading. Oh yes, that new game. Honestly, I am considering to picking that up myself, especially with Bowser's Fury. That looks absolutely epic. I mean, I am in the mood for a new Switch game, so I'll definitely go and try that out. Let's see now. I'll be honest, I have never read any of the Redwall books, nor have I seen the Redwall TV series. However, how you described it and compared it to The Secret of Nim does interest me, so I might just check out something after the stream. Well, okay, okay, well, yeah, maybe you can right now if you can go and find Redwall, the Redwall series, maybe there is a possibility. But yeah, like that would actually be one way that's one way to bring in some new fans. Is just compare it to The Secret of Nim and then you'll be good to go. Like, that's honestly the best thing that I could think of to go and compare Redwall to any people who are not familiar with it. Let's see now. Wow, is it most people that are just like, I don't know, haven't seen it, haven't read it? Okay, well, that's interesting. Oh, okay, maybe this person might know a little bit. A Redwall series can be done very well. Hopefully, the animation is similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender. Well, I won't worry about this, is that the movie sounds so good, like it could be a Frankenstein movie somewhere to Lemony Snicket's in the series of Unfortunate Events, where they took the first book and the second book, and also the last book, and cobbled them together into one movie. It will be nice. I just did the first book, if they just did the first book as a movie, and then do the next book as another movie, and so on and so forth. And that is an interesting point, because that's another reason to go and trust Netflix with Redwall, is because they actually did do a pretty solid job with Lemony Snicket's, with the Lemony Snicket book, like a series of unfortunate events. That was highly praised, and people have highly enjoyed that very much. So if they could give the same treatment to Lemony Snicket with Redwall, then again, I think it's going to be in really good hands. Let's see what else we got here now. Here we go. History seems to be repeating itself. PBS has had a Redwall series for 3 seasons. Tim Curry did some voice work in season 2, and the 3rd season gave an origin story of Martin the Warrior. Yeah, I think that's the Nelvana series I was talking about. In fact, in this order, season 1 was just called Redwall, season 2 was named Meta Mateo, and season 3 was called Martin the Warrior. I don't think Redwall was ever renewed for another season. Yes, and thank you for that clarification. Yes, that is actually true, where with the series, season 1 was actually called Redwall instead of Matthias. It's just, even, like, Redwall is the location, and it's the name of the first season, but the focus was all on Matthias. Let's see now. I'll read 2 more comments before we jump into the final story. I've never even heard of Redwall until now, but this does sound really interesting. I've heard some good things about Over the Garden Wall, and I do enjoy certain other Netflix animated shows like Green Eggs and Ham, so I'm gonna expect some good things here. I don't have anything else to say other than funky onion. No reason, just a fun sentence. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you could keep your funky onion, Disco Shrek. Alright, so let's see now. Quick question. Will the new Redwall series be in CGI, kind of like the 2018 Watership Down series, or in 2D? That is a very good question, and no, we do not have a clarification on that. I think, honestly, we'll have to wait and see with how that goes, but so far, things are looking pretty optimistic for this Redwall series, so for now, let's just go and hope for the best. All right, it is now time that we shall go and conclude this with the grand finale. Yes, we're already past the 2-hour mark, but there's still one more major news story to go. And this is also another major big one. Technically a bonus miscellaneous, but this is something that everyone has seen. I'm sure, maybe you haven't seen it, even though the grand majority of people around the world have seen it, but you certainly have heard about this one. And yes, it's about time that there's going to be another adaptation of it. So with that said, what I'm going to be talking about is indeed the Wizard of Oz remake. Yes, folks, it is official. New Line Cinema has officially announced that they are going to be remaking the 1939 cinematic classic, The Wizard of Oz. And on top of that, they have already revealed that Nicole Kassell, who previously worked on the Watchmen HBO series, is actually going to be attached as the director. Now, the big thing about this, however, is that even though a lot of people have heavily advertised this as a remake to the 1939 film, some people have stated that there is a possibility that they will also go and take inspiration from the books as well. That they'll look into the, is it L.F. Baum? I believe the author? I'm trying to remember, but... worst case, people might correct me on that. So, anyways, with that said, yes, apparently, there could be some other inspirations, but the main one is the fact that it will indeed be a remake of the L. Frank Baum. Thank you very much. But it will indeed be a remake of the 1939 movie. But at the same time, they did promise that it will be a fresh take at the same time, that they will be doing some new things as well. You will be seeing some familiar aspects of it, like the beautiful colors of the movie and the ruby slippers instead of having them be silver like in the original books. But Nicole Kassell does promise that she will try to make sure that it will be both familiar and new at the same time. As Nicole states here, reading from my source on Variety, I am incredibly honored to join Temple Hill and New Line in bringing this beloved classic to the screen. While the 1939 musical is part of my DNA, I am exhilarated and humbled by the responsibility of reimagining such a legendary tale. The opportunity to examine the original themes, the quest for courage, love, wisdom, and home, feels more timely and urgent than ever. These are profoundly iconic shoes to fill, and I am eager to dance alongside these heroes of my childhood as we pave a newly minted yellow brick road. So that's pretty much the big thing about this, is that there is going to be a new remake of The Wizard of Oz, but it will be focused a lot more on the 1939 remake. So yeah, it's literally taking the iconic 1939 movie and make a new version of that. And honestly, I actually do find this pretty interesting to go and talk about, mainly because of the fact that this is one of the very few remakes that actually has the balls to take a cinematic masterpiece, what many people consider to be one of the most important movies of all time, and actually remake that into the modern age. Now, of course, as we all know, The Wizard of Oz is just one of those stories that has been adapted again and again and again and again, but specifically leaning more towards the book than actually adapting the story itself, even though they would go and try to take elements that would be inspired by the 1939 movie, just to have a little bit of that familiarity, since it is the most popular adaptation. We have seen prequels of it, including Disney's version like Oz the Great and Powerful and the Broadway show Wicked as well. We've seen like sequels being made, again from Disney with Return to Oz. And then, of course, we got all the different forms of adaptations that put in a unique spin to it. We know about the hit Broadway show The Wiz, in which that also turned into a major movie. But then, even in recent times, the closest that we have ever received to a remake of the 1939 film would actually be the one with Tom and Jerry. But I mean, like, that is true, since it is like an animated shot-for-shot remake of the original 1939 movie, just with Tom and Jerry randomly thrown into the scenes. And not to mention many of the other adaptations as well, like the ones that feature familiar characters, like Muppets Wizard of Oz, for example. Like, the point that I'm trying to make is that we have seen adaptations of the Wizard of Oz again and again and again and again and again and again. And this one is nothing new. This one, we have already seen this before. We already know the story of it. However, at the same time, though, this one is more unique because this is a lot more serious when it comes to actually adapting it and trying to actually make a remake based on the cinematic classic. And for a lot of people, that is actually considered to be very controversial, because when you would try to go and adapt a cinematic masterpiece or try to remake one, that is often considered sacrilegious. That is something that would be considered unholy, to try to do something that is similar to the original classic that is considered not just a cinematic masterpiece, but one of the most important movies of all time. And usually what people would do instead of that is that they would go and try to tell the story of how those movies are made. And sometimes they would go like around it, kind of like what I said with the example with with all those different Wizard of Oz adaptations, like Mary Poppins, for example. Disney would not even Disney would actually have the balls to go and make a remake of Mary Poppins. So instead, what they would do is that they would make the sequel with Mary Poppins Returns, and then they would also do a movie about the making of Mary Poppins with Saving Mr. Banks. Or another example, actually, is not too long ago with Netflix, where they didn't remake Citizen Kane, but they told the story about the making of Citizen Kane with Mank. And, and we've seen, so that's usually how things have been going, but nowadays, however, it does seem like people are a little bit more open to try to actually remake these classics, or at least Hollywood is more open to want to remake these classics. And I would even say probably Disney would be the one that would cause this kind of break, because let's be honest, that's what they've been doing in recent years, where they would take their classics, even from Walt Disney's days, and they would try to remake them for modern times. We've seen that happen again and again with movies such as like Sleeping Beauty, with The Jungle Book. They're going to do one with Cruella de Vil. And they're even going towards like some of their most important movies they've ever done, like with Pinocchio. So at that point, if Disney is going to go and do that sacrilegious thing of remaking cinematic masterpieces, then why not other movies do the same thing? Why not go and do that? And even for me, I'm going to be honest, there was a part of my mind that did feel a few times like, I'm kind of surprised that Hollywood has yet to go and actually do something like that they would actually go and remake many of these cinematic masterpieces, like to really capitalize on their fame and their glory. Like, I remember last Christmas, I was actually watching I watched It's a Wonderful Life, which many people consider that to be one of the most important and one of the greatest Christmas movies of all time. Even though we have seen tons and tons of different adaptations of that, I'm surprised no one has yet to make a modern remake, like an unironic modern remake of It's a Wonderful Life, like really telling the story of George meeting up with Clarence and wishing that he wasn't born and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm surprised no one has really gotten the guts to go and do so. Of course, like, copyright would be an issue and estates would have to be discussed and all that kind of stuff. But still, like, it did make me curious of how we haven't been seeing a lot of that yet, especially in this modern age of cinema that are a lot more lenient towards making franchises and remaking old properties to make them feel new again. I'm surprised this has yet to happen. And I guess, like, with The Wizard of Oz, which that one is considered to be one of the most iconic movies of all time, why not actually go and remake that? Why not make an unironic, full-on modern remake of The Wizard of Oz? Take these familiar characters and tell their story in a brand new way. For me, like, yeah, I understand there is this major serious debate about rather if that should be done or not. But for me personally, I feel like in this current climate of cinema, it's just a matter of time. I feel like eventually this was bound to happen, honestly, that they would go and try to make something like this, that they would go and actually redo The Wizard of Oz that would probably have an A-list cast and have a massive budget with so many, like, marvelous CGI and visual effects put into it, that they would go and have a modern take of the Yellow Brick Road and the Emerald City of Oz and like the tornado scene and all that kind of stuff, that they would probably, like, there would be like a whole bunch of new things that they would go and adapt to. So overall, for me, I understand, like, the controversy, and I even discussed this with a friend who was so personally attached to The Wizard of Oz, like, consider that as a childhood movie, and they even stated that they are curious and excited to see what this movie will be, but at the same time extremely nervous because, like, they are worried about, like, you know, the cliched feeling of ruined childhood kind of feeling. Like, they would go and do that they're worried about that, but who knows, maybe it could turn out well, maybe not, but so far I've just seen a lot of very mixed feelings, and especially nowadays that we are seeing, like, old franchises be brought back to life and even classics be brought back to life, even to the point, like, with Warner Brothers, for example, they're kind of doing the same thing, taking a childhood classic and, like, bringing new life to it with the Wonka movie. So maybe they'll just do the same thing with this. Who knows? I don't know if this is a great idea. I don't know if this is a bad idea. Like, a lot of people have very much mixed feelings towards it. And I understand that for many, people are so fondly attached to the 1939 movie. So we'll just see how it goes, honestly. For me, I'm just going to say we'll wait and see. I can imagine that there is some potential, and especially with Nicole Nicole Kassell, who actually did a really good job with the Watchmen series. Maybe she'll still do a good job with the Wizard of Oz. But for me, I just feel like it's I could see how this is very much something with mixed feelings. So this really is something that we will have to wait and see. But I could definitely imagine this could go extremely well, or it could just go extremely horrible. Alright, so with that said, I'd like to go into the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you all, how do you feel about this Wizard of Oz remake? Do you have any personal attachments to the original movie? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea that they would go and remake it? Let me know what you think. Alright, let's see. I remember the Lollipop Guild scene in the scene of the original movie, and I hope they will in this remake, including the song as well. But how will the movie turn out when it's released? Due to the fact that the reboot and remake don't really get that much likability, because sometimes they don't have the same stuff that they would have in the original. So I just hope the movie won't get that much hate. Yeah, I mean, it is true that technically that it's got some really difficult shoes to fit, you know, or like technically it's got like it's got a pretty tough reputation already, because like even when it's gonna be come out, a lot of like the first thing that people are gonna do is just compare it to the original. Like even if it's gonna be like even if this one would, let's say, be more adapted, more inspired by the books more so than the movie, people will still go and compare it to the movie anyways. So yeah, like honestly, it kind of sucks that it would have to be compared to the original, but people are just going to do so anyways, because it's kind of like the instinct, because it's a remake to the original, and that's one of the first things people will ask. How is it compared to the original? Let's see now. Well, for me, maybe open for this, because to be very honest, I actually don't like the 1939 film. Oh, snap. Like seriously, I really can't seem to get into the whimsicalness of the film. Heck, when I was little, I had a hard time believing that the lion really is a lion, if anything. I just wish it was made into an animated film. However, this might be a debate, if this should be done, if it was like a remake of the Star Wars trilogy or something like that, which could end with some bad conflict, who knows. Yeah, and by the way, actually, technically, with the fact that you did mention about the animated Wizard of Oz, that is also another thing that was revealed this week, that Warner Brothers did seal the deal with working on their own animated adaptation of the Wizard of Oz, in which they have teamed up with Animal Logic to work on the Toto movie, which is basically the Wizard of Oz, but in the perspective of Toto. So thought I would go and quickly mention that technically, yes, we are going to be getting an animated adaptation of the Wizard of Oz, but just a little bit more different because it's going to be focused on Toto. Let's see now. I really do not like this idea at all. The original film is such a classic masterpiece and can never be replaced. This might end up being like the Disney live-action remakes, and people will forget about it and go back to the original. Also, I think there are way too many Wizard of Oz movies, although it can't be any worse than Legend of Oz, because they at least won't try to scam people out of money. Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, it's New Line. They already got the money. Let's see what else we got here. Looks like we're going for a ride. We're going to ride that tornado from Kansas to Oz all over again. There were 2 stage musical adaptations on this. One used the song called The Jitterbug, originally made for, but dropped from the movie. Andrew Lloyd Webber's adaptation that had almost every single song from the movie. The reason I say almost is because the Cowardly Lion's King of the Forest song, the song he sang in Emerald City, was still in the movie, but left out of Webber's adaptation. Alright, that's interesting. For someone who definitely watched The Wizard of Oz a lot throughout my childhood, I am not on board with this. Seriously, why can't Hollywood remake a bad film that was released years ago and make it a good film instead of remaking old classic films? I don't see that it will go extremely well for people that love the original like me, unless it proves me wrong, but I'm not looking forward to this at all. Yeah, the reason why they don't adapt bad movies is because they don't make that much money. And that's the thing. At least with good movies, they can capitalize on nostalgia. They can capitalize on the love of the film. It's hard to really go and capitalize on the hate of the film. I think the only ones who are capable of doing that is Sony Pictures when they capitalize on the hatred of the Emoji Movie. And that's pretty much it. Let's see what else we got here. This can only be a bad idea if they were to do a Wizard of Oz remake. They could have done it based off of the Marvel comic adaptation or the actual box. What are the really good ideas, but remaking the musical, not so much. I'm kind of hoping for a PG-13 take of Wizard of Oz based on the Marvel Comics adaptations, directed by Andy Serkis. Okay, well, people got a dream, I guess. Let's see. I think I'll go and read one more comment before we cap this off. I only found out about this now, but I think it's a bad idea because it's basically remaking a movie that already exists. Original ideas need more attention, like my original idea about a young boy in a post-apocalyptic world where only children and animals exist, and some kill each other because a law was made to find out who is the oldest to take charge as president of the United States. He is only trying to survive, and he must, while he must avoid revealing his age. I will say, though, that aren't you describing a little bit of Lord of the Flies? I don't know. Your original idea does sound a little bit like Lord of the Flies. Maybe it's just me. But anyways, with that said, oh boy, this really did turn out to be a big episode, because that is it for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Man, this was quite an epic time that we've had here, so I just want to say thank you all so much for joining me on this, and tune in next week, where maybe we will have more pretty big stories to go and talk about. But I will say it's going to be tough to go and top this one that we got, or top these stories that we got right here. So with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, see you later, dudes.